What is up? Welcome to today's rant. This, I believe, is one of the best examples to kind of show off my feelings, my philosophy about these modern cards. I would put this on the Mount Rushmore of examples that I use to, again, kind of show people just the numbers really behind some of this stuff and just give you kind of an idea of what that really looks like. I don't really think a lot of people know these exact numbers. So let's get right into that. The last thing I want to say before I start is just a quick disclaimer. The opinions that I have and are used in this video are from a long-term value perspective, from like an investment perspective, and how I think that this information affects that principle of long-term investing. So again, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2018 Panini Prizm Luka Doncic card and its PSA kind of population, price charting, things of that nature. So starting off just really quick with the base, there's 36,000 total PSA graded base cards, 15,000 nines, almost 20,000 tens, meaning that half of the graded population is a 10. So just keep that in mind. Other than that, I want to really express this part the most, which is how many parallels we really have kind of in this modern climate of cards. So this is a great example. And as I scroll, I want to go over two kind of major points. One, relating to this card in particular, again, and every card, is that this is only from one product. This is only from Prizm. There are four major chrome sets: Select, Optic, and Mosaic. The three of those might not have as many parallels. Select could possibly have more with the three different variations as well as all the parallels, but Optic and Mosaic I would probably say have less than Prizm. But since Prizm is the most popular and the most important, I want to say that anything in those sets I do believe will probably do worse because of how valued and how appreciated Prizm is in the hobby. And that's why I want to use them as an example, because those values are the strongest. Those values, I believe, are like the market indicator for this. The last point that I want to get across is that I do believe you can, to some point, translate this example to any other player, really any other sport, in the last 5 years of the hobby. Football, basketball, it's very similar, this Prizm kind of parallel example. And I can't confirm that every single player's price charts would be the same, but I do think kind of the population and how much supply and demand in the market is possibly the same, because everything seems to reflect it, I think, pretty similarly overall. So my home run point for this is, which I've taken a second to get to, and I apologize, I just wanted to hammer those two main points across, is that in the total graded parallels, in those 36 different parallels, I hope I mentioned that, so I'm going to just make sure I mention that again. There are 36 total parallels besides the base card. I hope I mentioned that before, but if not, now you know. When we were scrolling down, we looked at 36 different parallels, which means prisms, which means silver, which means ruby wave, which means purple wave, which means pink pulsar. You know what that means. 36 different parallels. The PSA graded total amount of those parallels was 13,716. So I just want to repeat that sentence and hammer home that point just one more time. So if you can give me a second to say, the amount of 2018 Panini Prizm Luka Doncic parallel cards that were graded by PSA total the amount of 13,716 cards. Add that to the base, there are a total of 50,162 graded PSA Luka Doncic 2018 Prizm cards. So one more point that I would like to make before I go on to an individual example is that is only the PSA population. I would assume if you were to add up every other major and minor grading card company without mentioning how many cards could still possibly be raw or in packs, obviously you can get a real number of how many cards actually exist, but there could be close to 60, 70, 75,000 total Luka Doncic graded card base and parallels from other brands. But let's get into some price examples. Starting off, one of the most common Luka Doncic graded cards And I just want to show you the example. So again, the population being almost 20,000. This is a dramatic 2-year chart examples. I will be using all the charts from 2 years. I do realize that the prices were very overvalued during the pandemic, and that does cause this to look a little bit dramatic. But I think that's important because I really think that does hammer home the point of like these values can really change, can really, really change. A few points that I want to give about this card in general is at the end of the day, the way this stuff sells is through supply and demand. And we definitely have the evidence of the supply right here. But what could possibly happen for the demand that would be needed to push this card up to, change again in 2x the value, 3x the value, to possibly go this high again? I think that it is possible. I'm not a short-term price change denier. Prices do absolutely fluctuate up and down. But again, from a long-term value perspective, I think most people would agree once a player retires, that spike in demand is almost gone. It's very, very hard for a player to do anything after playing to create that spike in demand. So I do believe that this card is only going to decrease in the long term. He's very good at basketball, but we're only talking about the card price over the long term. My next example is going to be a very expensive one. This is one of the most expensive Luka Doncic graded cards. It is the Blue Ice out of 99, PSA 10. Sold for around $27,000 last. This has a total population of 41. And again, one of the things that I want to mention about this is that almost half of the cards that have been put into packs have been graded and come back PSA 10s. This is the chart over the last 2 years with a 70% negative rate of growth with a $64,000 change. Again, over the last year, down 20%, $7,000. The next example I have is a very similar priced card that I believe is just 10 times better than this one. And I would like maybe somebody could explain why they think the opposite. So the next card I'm going to show you, this card is a Luka Doncic rookie signatures gold out of 10 BGS 9.5. Last sold for around 25,000. I'm not sure exactly why these two cards are the same price. I unfortunately believe both are probably overvalued, and I unfortunately believe that both will decrease over the long term. But I'm wondering why this card, which has only 10 in creation, only 6 in this particular grade, so again, making it more rare, but also over half of them have been in this grade, but to have the rarity of the autograph added to the card and have that go for the same price when on paper, there's 10 times more of these printed, and in population, there's still almost over 5 times more in population. So I just think that's an interesting example. If somebody could say why they think that the Blue Ice is more expensive or about the same price as the gold auto. And so moving on, we have the Luka Doncic Blue out of 199 PSA 10, $12,000 card ladder value with a 38 population on PSA. So again, a little bit less percentage wise. But over the last 2 years, again, down 80%, $65,000. 1 year, down 44%, $10,000. So my next two examples, again, are going to be one, which is a very similar price, which is the Blue out of 49 PSA 10, selling for about the same price. Again, a little more, but not the way it's reflected in how rare the actual card is. So I would believe the reason, and I think some people would agree, that this is because this is a color match to his jersey. And don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful card. It really does match. But how much does that match factor into the value when a card arguably 3 to 4 times as rare is selling for the same price? Another one, which I think is a little more shocking, which is an out of 35 example, which is selling for less than half on paper than the color match Blue out of 199, 4 times as less of a population. Unfortunately, again, this card over the last 2 years is down 60%, $17,000 real dollar change. I really don't know what else to say besides I hope you can kind of understand why I'm using these examples. One being I don't understand how these values are determined. And then secondly, just unfortunately, everything seems to be decreasing in value, especially since when the market was so much higher, in 2020 and 2021. The last number I want to throw at you is the 6 examples that we looked at over the last 2 years. Again, just to be dramatic, they were down an average of 74%. The last example I want to show is just what I guess I would consider probably the best buy based on just overall rarity, cool factor, is the Sensational Signatures Mojo out of 25 BGS 9. It's pop 14. They're valuing it at 2,000. Last one sold for like 4,000. I just think that this might be the best one. Unfortunately, that's all I want to say. I just kind of want to put the information out there, but I'm just telling you, I guess, how I feel, and I would not be investing my money in them. I just want that information online and for everybody to see. So I really appreciate it if you watched it, and I would really appreciate it if you let me know if you thought it was helpful, if you thought it was accurate. That would really mean a lot to me. So thank you very much. God bless.